He has launched an all-out assault on the LGBTQ community and put a target on the backs of more than 15,000 transgender troops proudly serving in our military today.
Based on consultation that he's had with his national security team, came to the conclusion that it erodes military readiness and unit cohesion, and made the decision based on that.
President Donald Trump sparking controversy and outrage today, announcing on Twitter that transgender people will not be allowed to serve in any capacity in the U.S. military, saying medical costs and disruption would burden the armed forces. It's not clear yet what the announcement will mean for transgender soldiers already serving. But Canadian transgender soldiers are not facing that same sort of uncertainty. In fact, the Canadian Armed Forces have had a policy in place since 2011 to best accommodate as best as possible the needs of all soldiers, including those who are transgender. Now, we spoke with Rachel Clark a little bit earlier today. She's a former U.S. Marine who happens to be transgender, and she says it is a breath of fresh air, especially compared to the military culture that she served in south of the border.
The first question they ask you when you enlist in 1987 is, are you a homosexual? And I'm a transgender person. I didn't consider myself to be a homosexual, quote unquote, but it would have certainly been looped into there. And so you lie.
And she lied for several more years, hiding her identity as she served her country, even in Desert Storm.
Plenty of people while I was in the military who were outed or did get caught in situations where they were outed, and they were immediately discharged and sent home. So that was a very scary thing.
That's not the case in Canada, a country Rachel has called home for several years.
And the experience is night and day. So trans people can openly serve in the Canadian military, and of course there's always systemic discrimination that happens anywhere you are. But in general, trans people can be open about their gender identity in the Canadian military.
And there's been a policy in place since 2011 that not only guarantees defense personnel access to gender confirmation procedures and therapies, but that ensures those treatments aren't disrupted by an assignment. The policy reads, a CF transsexual member in transition will be assigned a temporary medical category and medical employment limitations that will ensure access to required medical support. This would normally preclude deployments, and even assignments to locations where access to treatments would be limited.
I think we've come a very long way in the last 10 years in terms of trans acceptance, and I think we have a long way to go, but every year things seem to get better and better and better.
Access to information documents obtained by City News reveal that only 4 years ago, Cadets Canada, a youth organization that helps build leadership and teamwork skills in youth, had to scramble anytime a transgender cadet wanted to go to training camp. Emails show organizational leaders concerned about trans youth being treated with respect. A 2015 email from a colonel reads, "The number one concern is the safety of this cadet and all others. We do not want to create a negative experience for all concerned." An email from a lieutenant colonel the next month stresses the need for a policy moving forward. "We need to put a policy in place," it reads. "We need to be prepared to accommodate these cadets as long as it does not cause us or cause them undue hardship." That policy was released last year, reinforcing trans rights for cadets, even spelling out how to deal with shared accommodations and bathing facilities during training camps.
Trans people have been serving in the military for a long time, and there's been no issue whatsoever. We have to, as a society, get over our obsession with people's gender identity and sexual orientation and start living in communion with one another.
In light of Trump's announced transgender military ban, the Canadian Armed Forces tweeted out this picture of sailors marching in a pride parade with the message, "We welcome Canadians of all sexual orientations and gender identities. Join us." They included the hashtag "Diversity is our strength." Now, the Canadian Armed Forces do not keep data or track the data of the sexual identities or gender identities of its members, but in documents obtained through an access to information request, City News has learned that about one member per year on average is treated for gender dysphoria, which may or may not lead to gender confirmation surgery.